The year is 2020, and Mike and Spencer start a podcast. Inevitably, the two talk about handhelds. The year is 2021, and the podcast continues. Later that year, the two talk about handhelds. The year is 2022, and the podcast continues. And sure enough, there's an episode about handhelds. The year is 2023. Somehow the podcast is ongoing. The two surely do their final episode about handhelds. The year is 2024, and we're talking about handhelds. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. I'm your host, Spencer. With me is a man who has finally joined the superior console faction, and now we can turn this podcast into what we've always wanted it to be, silly console bore bullshit. It's my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Xbox sucks, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
so glad I can finally get that off my chest.
When you sent me that video of you pissing on your...
Yeah, remember when like the Series X first came out and people were blowing vape through it?
Yeah.
I thought about bringing that trend back. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put my own twist on this and just fucking piss on it. I'm just so glad that I don't have to sit here and like defend Xbox anymore.
I know.
I don't have a PlayStation.
I know. I literally felt like this entire time, for all these years, all those bad things I said about PlayStation, I never meant them. I was just trying to be fair to you. I didn't want you to feel like you were missing out on.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Got me through some dark times knowing that, or at least perceiving that I wasn't missing anything.
Yeah, and then you opened your box and you were like, "Oh my god, the world is so much brighter. I see in color again."
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I get a PS5, and then immediately Sony's like, "You finally got one. We can bring PlayStation back to the glory that it was." And then they announce what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Yeah, you kicked this off.
Yeah, I'm the catalyst.
Out of
Remember
way.
that.
Out of the way. Everybody give it up for Mike.
Everything in time. We just together.
We did. Yeah, I love a good.
It's been a while since we've together.
I love when we can be sure that we're both satisfied with a good together.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, usually it's just one of us umming.
Yep. The other one kind of feels left out.
Yeah.
They didn't have a chance to
But it's a partnership. You know, you get your day.
What were you going to say?
Oh, man. Okay. Let's end the show.
That's a wrap. We aren't going to talk about handhelds one last time.
No, we're not. I've been pretty happy with the PS5 so far. There's one thing that people, and the one thing that I've really held on to that people said is just way superior on PS5, other than the game catalog. Just more so technically. And I kind of like discounted it. I'm like, it's not really that. It can't really be that bad, can it? And it is like the locked 60 frames that the PS5 has is incredible. It looks so much better than Xbox.
Really?
Oh my god, it's night and day.
Wow.
It's not even comparable. I was playing I played the new Flight Sim this week.
Mm-hmm.
Hot garbage. Absolutely terrible. It like acted like I was playing on dial-up internet. It stuttered all the time. There was input lag. It was so bad. And
you were playing it like on console. You weren't like
natively,
streaming it. Yeah. Wow.
And you know, I realized, and even with like Star Wars Outlaws, it was one of those games where they said that the Xbox kind of struggled to lock in 60 frames, and I haven't really noticed it. But after playing some games on PS5 and just seeing how smooth everything is, like it's a world of difference.
Wow.
I also don't know if it's like collusion though, because I have a Sony TV and it was
So they pushed an update to the TV, like make sure Xboxes look bad.
I mean they very well could, like technically.
I guess.
On the box for my TV it said like automatic something like automatic optimization for PS5 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I plugged it in and like the TV recognized that a PS5 connected and it did all these settings updates and I went through and looked at them and it didn't like the physical settings weren't like any different than what happens when I play my Xbox on there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
You plugged your PS5 in and the TV became sentient. Hello,
Yeah,
Michael.
exactly.
Thank you for finally booting me up.
You have unlocked 8K.
No, it would have to be like something for it's 32K.
Yeah, just yeah.
My eyes don't even know what they're seeing. Exactly.
They just burn out. I get sucked into the TV.
Well, now that sounds like it'd feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So what have you been playing on the PS5?
The first thing I booted up was Miles Morales, just because like I wanted to go around an open world.
Yep.
Uh, definitely like, and I understand it wasn't really like technically a PS5 game, but um, the frame rate was great.
Mm-hmm.
The load times were insane. I actually had to load up Miles Morales on my PS4 at the same time because you have to like manually upload your save. That is somewhere where I will give Xbox a ton of points. Is I never have to do that shit with Xbox.
Yeah.
It's just automatically there as long as I'm signed into my account. So that's kind of annoying. But it's amazing how fast it loads like from startup into game. That was pretty impressive. And it looked good. Like I said, the frame rate was incredible. The graphics were like they didn't look really any different than PS4, but I didn't really expect them to.
Yeah.
So I played a little bit of that just to free roam. But I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima finally, and that game is fucking incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And again, like you can tell it's like an upscale from a PS4 game,
Mm-hmm.
but the frame rate's always good. The graphics are fine. It's so good.
Ghost of Tsushima is like that has to be probably like that might be like the best new game. I'm gonna give a lot of stipulations here where like it's not from like an already existing IP and like
Yeah.
you kind of don't even really know what you're like going to get per se because like it's not like Sucker Punch made another game like that, you know what I mean? And yeah, like not necessarily like best risk reward because like I don't think there was a ton of risk in getting or like putting faith into that game, but like it just blew me away basically, like more than any game has been able to do in quite a while, I would say.
Yeah.
It just like all
It's
feels good.
really good. Yeah. Feels good, man.
Feels good, man. That's awesome. I'm so happy that you're finally getting around to playing some of these games.
Yeah. And like I had it on my PS4, but you know, I waited.
Sure.
Just didn't play it. But yeah, I'm hooked on that game. More than I've been on like a game in a long time.
Yeah.
Probably since Cyberpunk.
Wow. It's a good game.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
and,
did start. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and you have like, didn't you upgrade the like PS Plus that you had? Because I know for the longest time you just kept paying for like the whatever that lowest tier is that gives you
Yeah.
the free monthly games. But you had upped it, right? So like now you have like access to like the bigger library, effectively like their answer to Game Pass.
Yeah, I had upped it last year and then let it go back down to basic.
Okay.
And then about a month or so ago, I put it back to not the highest level, but whatever the step below it is that
Mm-hmm.
gets you like the newer games, not necessarily the like the PS2 games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which like that collection was pretty impressive. Like I might be tempted to upgrade to that just to get all of those games too. But yeah, so I have that. So I downloaded a couple of games. Ghost of Tsushima being one. Um, Control I downloaded. That was more so like so I could delete it from my Series X and
Mm-hmm.
open up some space. What else? I didn't do a ton right away. Just because I didn't want to be tempted to like jump around. I just want to play Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah,
But
it's very tough.
yeah, but I will certainly keep that now. I almost bought Astro Box. It was on sale for like $10 off. Still might. We'll see.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wanted to get through Ghost of Tsushima before I even bother buying anything.
Ah, yes. That age old tradition of building up a back catalog that you'll never get around to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on top of my 3 generations that I have before it.
Yep. I truly think you're in a position that I'm somewhat envious of because I truly believe if I had Game Pass and PlayStation Plus extra tier, granted that is, I think, probably like like call it $250. I don't know the exact amount because I think extras, I think both are like 120 for a whole year, maybe. They might have both been up a little bit. Let's call it $300. It's $400 for the two of them. Uh, I wouldn't buy any other games though. Like I would literally just use those services pretty much.
Yeah, I mean it's seldom. I think in the during the Series X generation, I've bought Immortals Phoenix Rising because like at the beginning that was one of the few like
Yep.
actual next gen games and it wasn't on anything. Um College football I bought
Yep.
uh and Cyberpunk, but I bought it for $15.
Right.
There's probably some other stuff, like definitely some smaller games, some indie games that I bought.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean it's seldom that I actually buy a game. I mean it's probably less than, 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I was just looking back on this, trying to figure out like if I even bought any new games this year outside of like MLB.
Yeah.
And there were two other sales that happened where like games that I had on my wish list were pretty much if a game is on my wish list and it gets put on sale for either 75% off or under $15, I just scoop it up like pretty much automatically.
Yeah.
Um, just because it's like, yeah, like what else am I really like waiting for outside of like if it gets put on to the service? But then I don't have to like worry about it leaving the service and all that nonsense. So, um, but yeah, there were like two sales that, and I'm pretty sure I had like gift card balance on my account still, or like I used the PlayStation Stars um points that I had built up
Mm.
and like redeemed $20 into my wallet and was able to like buy the games. um so yeah, I think like MLB was basically like the only game I bought. And of course I bought like the primo edition, but just just wild. Just wild
Yeah.
how the services are like. I think the services are really perfect for certain people, and I think you and I both definitely fit into that. Where it's like we like to play a wide variety of games, and like it's just not feasible to buy every single one of those games new. So it's a great opportunity to like experience games that like you might have had to like pass up on for whatever reason.
Or like even games that you're, questionable on.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just get, and we've talked about this a million times, but like there's so little risk in downloading a game that you're like, I don't know if I'm 100% sold on, but I want to try it.
Yeah,
Good problem to have.
definitely a good problem to have. Well, now that you have a PlayStation, and now that you have a PS5, and now that you have PlayStation Plus Extra, um, I challenge you to get 100 platinums using only games on the service in a single year.
How about one? That sound good?
Sure,
Okay.
handshake on one.
I couldn't even tell you the last time I got a platinum trophy.
Ghost of Tsushima. That's gonna be your next one. I'm calling it.
Is it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I could just do whatever it takes to be in that game for longer.
Are you playing it? Are you playing it like subbed or dubbed?
Dubbed.
Okay.
Do I need to play it in subbed? Because I deeply considered it.
I thought um I thought it was a better experience playing it subbed.
You think? Okay.
There was a moment where I can't remember who it was very early on or if I had already switched it to sub, but I just vividly remember um the like Mongolian leader
Mm-hmm.
is like talking to Jin, and he's like Jin's shocked that he's speaking the same language, and he's like, "That's right, I learned." But they're both speaking English.
Yes,
If you're playing it like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
if you're playing it dubbed, and I was just like, "No."
Yeah, I was thinking about, so whenever I watch like a TV show
hmm
in another language, I just keep it in whatever the native language is and then put subtitles on.
hmm
But I figured like, okay, American Game Studio, it's probably natively in English. That was just me making a wide assumption. So I'll just play it in English. But yeah, I did catch that as well, and I was like, "Ugh, I don't know if I can do this."
Also, if I remember correctly, prior like I think they patched it, but I think originally like they didn't do like motion like, capture for like mouth movement to match English. So it like
I think you're right.
I don't like that like disconnect. That like really bothers me. I'm like I'd much rather just like read subtitles. Like you know what I mean? Like I'd rather everything like appear much more smooth than like watching somebody's mouth move, a mile a minute for them to hear, yeah, that sounds good. Like you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
like ugh, like I don't know, like I my brain like doesn't like register that right.
I kind of think they did update it,
I think
but
I
it's still
remember them
not.
doing that.
But it's still not perfect.
Yeah.
Not that it needs to be, but like it's still noticeable at
Yeah.
least. Um, yeah, I'm probably gonna change that setting back. But I'm also thinking about playing it again in like the black and white
The
mode.
Kurosawa mode.
Yeah, because that looks sick. And then if I
Yeah.
if I do that, I'll definitely do it in uh Japanese and just have subtitles on. Or not.
Oh,
Like I won't know what's
just no subtitles.
yeah, just straight Japanese. Here's the thing I really like about watching like Japanese or Korean, not so much Chinese like speaking shows because there's so many different dialects. but it's not what you would call like a romance language.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very easy to learn just kind of by listening and having subtitles. And like I think it'd be cool to at least have like a basic understanding of Japanese or Korean or, So I really like having those things in their native in the native language because it's just it's an interesting way to try to learn these things.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that was the validation that I needed. I'm gonna change it back
Hell yeah.
because I have
Hoorah.
subtitles on anyway. And whenever I have subtitles
Right.
on, even if it's in English, I still read
Right.
it.
Right. I'm the same way. I am the same exact way. It's also funny. Every time I play video games, I always put subtitles on. But when I'm watching like TV and stuff, I hate subtitles. Unless it's like they're speaking a different language, you know?
Yeah. Or British.
Nah, even then.
Really?
Yeah, even then. I mean, I'm not a baby, but uh, now sometimes if somebody has like a super Cockney accent,
Yeah.
that'll
Like
yeah.
Ted Lasso, I have to put subtitles on just because there's so many different accents.
Really, that's interesting. I've never needed it for Ted Lasso, but again, I'm not a baby.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm super stoked that you're gonna get to catch up on um these PlayStation games. What do you think? What do you think? I know this is like asking you to look ahead, but what would you imagine is going to be after Ghost of Tsushima?
Hopefully Spider-Man 2.
It's a good one, yeah.
I was told I'm not allowed to buy that one yet though.
Oh, oh.
Oh,
Do you think that's maybe a birthday present?
possibly for your birthday.
Yeah. For me?
No, for me
Oh,
to celebrate
oh,
your birthday.
oh. That makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would just be really funny if Justine was like, "Can't buy it yet." It makes you wait until August.
Well, what was really funny was so this was the PS5 was supposed to be like a half Christmas present for me. So
Yeah.
like I was paying for half of it. Justine was paying for half of it as my Christmas present. And then it came and she's like, it literally showed up and I put it under the tree. I was like, whatever, I can wait. And she's like, well, we should probably open it to make sure that everything's okay. And so like we don't need to make sure we don't need to return it or whatever because we bought the pre-owned one.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Justine, if I take this thing out of the fucking box, it's not going back in.
We should probably
Definitely
make sure everything works. You open it, and it's like, I guess I shouldn't put it away.
made.
uh,
um. So she's like, oh well, are there any like games or like other accessories or things you want? I was like, yeah. So I ended up just paying for the whole thing. She's gonna gift me those things. It's just so funny to me that literally the primary reason I wanted a PS5 was to play Spider-Man 2. And before we had this whole conversation, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go on and buy Spider-Man. Then she's like, or this is the sole reason I wanted this thing.
and she said, "Too bad."
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
So now we wait.
nice. But
That's
you've
fine. It works out.
yeah.
I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima. If for some reason I beat that before Christmas, which I doubt I will, I don't know what I'm going to play. Probably Control because I put it on there. But I
Or
also have like God of War that I haven't played either of them.
yeah, or
You can play PS4 games like discs on a PS5, right?
yep.
Okay, that's good.
Well, actually, I guess technically I don't know that, but I don't see why
I feel like
not.
it was I feel like it was dependent on the game, maybe.
I thought they all, because like you can download a PS4 game and play it on the PS5. So I don't
Yeah.
see why I wouldn't be able to read off the disc if like a
Why?
disc is compatible.
Because fuck them. That's why.
That's true, I guess. I think the whole like it depends thing is like if it like gets upgraded.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Um I was gonna say if you do finish Ghost of Tsushima before Christmas, there's a perfect game to play, especially if you're like getting ready for Spider-Man 2. Miles Morales. It takes place during Christmas.
Yeah. But I like literally played that over the summer.
Christmas in July. Nice.
Exactly. It's getting me ready for these cold New York winters.
Mm.
These
Very
mild
cool.
New York winters these days.
Yeah, anyway. Very cool. Very cool. Shall we talk about handhelds?
Probably.
Because I don't think we've talked about them enough in the lifespan of this podcast.
Certainly not as much as we're going to talk about them.
Death, taxes, and Mike and Spencer finding a way to talk about handhelds. Except this time, like, there's really nothing to ponder. I mean, we got concrete, like, this isn't Tom Henderson going, I'm telling you guys, believe me, handhelds are in the works. And we're all like, Tom, stop it. No, like, it's been confirmed.
Yeah.
By
And like
by
actual
Bloomberg.
native games.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty crazy, right? Bloomberg, I think, got the scoop from Phil Spencer that confirmed like Xbox is working on it. It's a couple years away. Yada yada yada. And then Bloomberg also, I think, were the ones to break that. Sure enough, PlayStation handheld coming, natively running PS5 games, which is like insane to think about. It's also insane that they released the Portal, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, no, it's
But you're gonna buy both.
you better fucking believe it.
They put out like the cheap shitty thing that you would question first, just because you didn't have any other options.
Yeah.
Gave you a year and then said, "Well,
You remember that thing that would have been better?
well, guess what?
I
We're doing
sure
it."
do. But yeah, it's like it's wild. I mean, again, the joke at the top is that we've talked about handhelds and how they could be back, and like the Switch is like the perfect example of why handhelds can still work and just the way you need to do them in like the current day and stuff like that. And that's not to say even that um, PlayStation and Xbox also need to have a whole like docking situation and stuff like that. Like I do think you can just have a handheld device that is solely handheld. I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox does some sort of like um, docking situation, but Xbox also is running this like whole this is an Xbox campaign where they just show random things like a toaster and they go, this is an Xbox. And it's up to you to do your own research and decide if you believe them or not.
Yeah.
But so I wouldn't be surprised if they like have like some sort of like way of like this one cord can plug into literally anything and you can run your Xbox on it. But yeah, like here we are, and we're actually getting like a handheld race, which is kind of crazy that we've again been talking about it for how long, and sure enough, it's finally come to fruition.
Yeah. Do you want to hear my deep cut to shut this down entirely?
Yeah, sure.
I don't think Xbox is going to come out with a handheld.
Do tell.
I think this Sony announcement just is, I think the Xbox handheld is dead as of that moment.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to buy an Xbox handheld over a PlayStation handheld. You can already play Xbox games on like all of the like the Lenovo device, the Steam device.
Yep.
Like there's already devices in the ecosystem. Um, and I just feel like Microsoft is going to struggle to make their games play natively and well. Like, and that's the lesser part of my argument because they have the Series S, which I imagine the hardware suite is going to be similar to. But I don't think there's going to be any demand for it given the devices that exist, the PC devices that are going to come out over the next 2 years. It's going to take to push this thing, and then the PlayStation device. I mean, I can tell you if like their launch day is close, like to each other, I would get the PlayStation handheld over the Xbox One.
Sure.
Sony has a history of it. Um, I think the game quality will be better. Uh, I don't know. I don't think they're actually gonna Xbox is gonna follow through with it. And I actually think that the PlayStation handheld is gonna come out first, which is gonna doubly fuck them.
Yeah. I think I think it's such like an interesting situation, and like you kind of started to touch on it a bit. I think what Xbox has done has been like great. I think like
Mm.
I truly think everything that they've been doing have been like good business decisions that like are in the best interest of like what Xbox is capable of and everything like that. And then it like just it in the end it just does not matter. Like it's like it's like they're the good guys, right? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna play nice. And then PlayStation and Nintendo just go, okay, well, we're not.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Like,
Yep.
and then it's like, okay, well, what reason do I have to get an Xbox console, right? Like, again, I think the whole campaign of like anything and everything can be an Xbox is kind of like smart um marketing on their end because like it's true, right? Like they have found a way to like put Xbox on just about any device and you can play your games and you can play, you know, the biggest Xbox titles for a fairly like minimal price for like a service. You can get them day one and all this stuff. Um but what reason do I have to buy the actual hardware anymore?
Mhm.
And is it wise to try and stay so steadfast in the hardware game, or is it better to like figure out how to continue to prop up the experiences that you can provide, and continue to just try and provide them in the most ways possible? uh it's really interesting the situation they've been in because again, like you're bringing up that you said you would buy a PlayStation handheld, and especially if they come out like close to each other. And it's like, yeah, isn't that kind of the no brainer?
Yeah. But
Like,
here's the
sorry, go ahead.
no. Here's the thing. Like, I'm content with my options to play Xbox games
Exactly.
on the go.
Exactly.
And I think that's Xbox's niche. Uh like I know I can bring my laptop and play pretty much any game on Xbox that I want to play. And like the experience is fine. What I would rather see than a new device is that experience to get better. Uh and there are other OEMs that are making devices that can do this stuff natively, if I decided that's what I wanted. I just it feels like Microsoft is chasing a little and possibly looking to social media a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
Um So I'm not saying that I think Microsoft is going to be unsuccessful in like the portable gaming space. I think that they're going to be allowed to open their own game store on mobile. I think that'll be good. I think they've got um, Activision, King and Blizzard who have all made successful mobile games. I think that'll help kind of boost that suite of like native mobile games.
Mm-hmm.
and they have a decent streaming service, which I think, it continues to get better. They just had an update last week or 2 weeks ago, I can't remember, where there are certain games that if you own, you can play, you can now stream um, directly from xCloud. You don't have to stream from your console like you had to previously.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's just it's so interesting the position that they've kind of like put themselves into. And like I think again, it's like is it wise at this point to continue trying the like hardware push that they've like been on, you know, an Xbox handheld, what if instead of doing the Series S, they would have done the the Series X and the Series M, which is standing for mobile.
yeah.
It's like a handheld, version of the Series X. It maybe has like basically the power of the Series S, but it's like the more on the go option, and you do that suite at launch, right? And you release that instead, and like that, I think maybe goes a little crazier, right? Maybe goes a lot better, but like again, the position that they've put themselves into since really the tail end of the Xbox One generation, and then through every step of the series generation does make it a bit of a head scratcher. And I'm with you with the like whole, if Sony is gonna release their own handheld, it's just like that's probably your call to like, all right, wrap it up.
Hmm.
We're going home because like you and I joked about it, and it's unfortunately true. Like you had said like you think that a PlayStation handheld will bury a uh, an Xbox One, and I said despite it being technically inferior because it's at the point where it just does not fucking matter. It does not fucking matter that the Xbox Series, um, you know, has all these things like PlayStation. Time and time again, we joke about how they're the Apple of the game side of things when it comes to just like these annoying death by a thousand cuts that they do, and just like it just doesn't matter. People still buy a PlayStation to play NBA. It does not matter. Like
Yeah.
people still buy a PlayStation to play Call of Duty. It does not matter. Um
Well, and think about the Japanese market too.
mhm.
Largest handheld market in the world. Obviously, they're going to buy Nintendo and Sony products. And I know that Microsoft has been trying to make that push
Mhm.
into that market. Eh, I still don't think they're anywhere near those two. I don't know that they'll ever be. I think it's good that they have tried.
Yes.
I don't think that they're going to succeed with the handheld though.
No, almost certainly not. And if anything, like Sony runs a lot of risk depending on their release window because people are going to buy a Switch.
Right.
The Nintendo Switch is the second best selling console of all time.
Yeah.
Like, it's and that's not a mistake. That's there's really good reason for it, and there's good reason to believe that a successor is also going to sell like crazy, especially overseas. Um so yeah, to that point, being in third place as is, and then trying to join a market that you've never done before while being in that third place position, you have to release the coolest, best handheld ever, and you still might not. It still might not matter.
Yeah, I mean, what could they possibly do to differentiate themselves?
Right, and that's the other thing. Like I was gonna say, like even if it is better, right? Like, one, how is it better? Like, what are they going to be able to do with a handheld to convince you um to go with an Xbox handheld over another, especially when you probably already have something in your house that can play Xbox games if you really wanted
Right.
to.
I mean,
And on the Go device as well, if you wanted to.
yeah. I think they have to bank on the people who are into the Game Pass ecosystem. I mean, that is the differentiator. That I think that will, for the foreseeable future, be what makes you buy an Xbox product.
Yeah.
Is how much do you believe in Game Pass? Which, like, it's not insignificant. I mean, that really is like the killer thing that Xbox has done over the past generation, 2 generations. Um, yeah, but I think it's going to be like I don't think it's going to be like a Switch. I think they're going to say this is for being on the go. This is for setting up a home. Do I think it'll be able to like display through USB-C? I mean, probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a hard feature to add, but I don't think it's going to have like a pretty dock to set up or anything, which frankly, like there are times where I wish like we travel with our Switch all the time and I wish I could just like plug it into the TV.
Yeah.
And I know some people make docks that do that, but still hard to say. I mean, PlayStation is going to, I mean, they have their game catalog. They have a history of making mobile consoles. And I think bigger than anything, they have the nostalgia factor.
Yep.
I think everyone who had a PSP will be buying one of these.
Yeah. And more so than the Vita
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Well, I think it's going to go back to being simple. It's going to play PS5 quality games.
Right.
We're not adding a touchpad on the back and a touch screen and 2 cameras and a a I mean, they might add a mobile connection, but I think it's just going to go back to being a game console.
Much more like the PSP.
Yeah.
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 I think that's a fair um assumption. Yeah, I mean, I yeah, I think I would tend to agree with you that like that's already going to be a huge push for PlayStation is that nostalgia factor. Um and it's just the right time, right? Like I mean the right time was probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago at this point. Once the Switch was like really already rolling and you like it had been confirmed at that point that like there is a space for handhelds again for sure. um I think it would have gone crazy even then.
Yeah.
It's just really funny that like the Vita just came into this like weird window where it was out, and then once they just like gave up on it and like officially probably put the nail in it is like 2 years later, boom. Nintendo goes, don't be so sure.
Yeah, exactly.
um so I wonder if like the Portal that PlayStation released, I wonder if that is like a pretty I wonder if that's like a pretty good idea of like what the handheld could like effectively look like. Um I imagine it wouldn't be quite as big. Portal's pretty big, pretty bulky.
You
Um
see, and I kind of think that it will be
okay.
because I think that for so long portable gaming was, oh, it's got to be something that fits in your pocket.
Right.
Um And we saw with like the Steam Deck and all these other like larger format, or even the Switch. I mean, the Switch doesn't exactly fit in your pocket. Like, I think that these manufacturers saying, okay, people don't necessarily need something they can like keep in their pocket and pull out on the subway.
Mm-hmm.
They want something they can travel with, play on an airplane, play in a hotel. So I think they can afford to go a little bit bigger.
All right. So you think like it'll be like the DualSense controllers and all that?
I think it'll be something similar.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I
I
definitely
think
agree. I
it'll,
don't think it needs to. I don't think we need to go back to the whole like it's as small as a mouse.
yeah.
You can you can you can take it everywhere. You can put it in your back
And
pocket
here,
if you want. Like I don't think that,
eh,
but
yeah. And if the release window is like, and this is speculation, I don't know that anybody's really said anything, but is like within the next 2 years, I don't think they're going to be able to make a PS5 that small in 2 years.
sure.
So I think it'll probably be like bigger, maybe like the same footprint as the Portal, but
Okay.
like wider in the middle, obviously. Probably like Steam Deck size.
Okay. Yeah, I could see it. Um while we're talking about the portal, there was like an interesting piece that came out about how they're going to be pushing an update, or maybe it's already happened, where you technically aren't going to need a PS5 uh to use it. If you have like a PS Plus premium subscription, you'd be able to play it without like having a connection um to a PS5 console. Uh and I saw that and I went, yeah, you guys are like one step away from just making it a fucking console that plays games natively. Maybe instead of releasing this, you should have just done that. Oh, you were working on that? And you just sold it to suckers like me? Well played.
Yeah.
Well played. Masterful gambit. Uh but yeah, I saw that and I think that from the jump would have been a pretty solid selling point for the portal. I think the portal definitely just in its own state is like I don't think it has a ton of use for the average person. I mean, I personally
Hmm.
love it. I think it's great. I think you have to be like you have to be a Sony dork, a PlayStation dork, and I think it then has value. But um,
We kind of talked about this when the Portal was announced, and we were kind of speculating. And I'm pretty sure we mentioned this kind of needed to be a feature at some point.
yeah,
I mean, I find it funny, and I'm don't get me wrong, still glad I got a PS5. But like for me, I my primary game that I wanted to play, I had no intention of making my PlayStation my like primary console,
hmm,
just because since I've been integrated into Xbox for this entire life cycle, just wanted to get it to play like the couple, not just a couple, but the must play games for PS5.
right,
I don't need it to be the best experience in the world. I just want to be able to play it. And for $200 and the PlayStation Plus subscription, I can do that, assuming
sure,
the games are on there. But I think it's a good feature to have. I think it's a little. I think it would have been better if they would have also done what we said and made it like 5G enabled.
hmm,
But it also works well, like for people like me, where despite having good internet, I'm so far away from my provider that streaming games from like my Xbox, for example, is pretty much impossible.
hmm,
But streaming from xCloud is fine, obviously, because it has nothing to do with my Xbox and it's coming from a data center.
right.
Oh. It's at least, whether you want it or not, value added to the device. So for $200.
Yeah. Again, from the jump, it's a no. It's probably, I'm not gonna say no brainer, but it's a much easier buy for somebody who still hadn't been able to get their hands on a PS5 and like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
uh, the fact that it's, and again, it's just how Sony is with everything PlayStation. It's just like your barrier to entry is needing this fucking console. Like, oh, the PSVR 2 seems really cool, has like a ton of like great like technical aspects to it. It seems like, you know, a really great virtual reality experience. It costs more than a console, and you need a console. It's like,
Right.
fuck. Like, okay, well then I guess I'm not getting a PSVR 2. Because by the time I even get a console, I'm already out $500, $600. I need to buy games, and gaming is an expensive hobby. I can't possibly like rationalize on top of it also paying X amount. The average
Yeah.
person, right? Like, again, if it's your thing, you'll find a way to make those decisions for yourself, obviously. But like,
Right.
I think I think that's something that like Xbox does really well, which is the average person. It's so obtainable to get into the Xbox ecosystem and to play Xbox games. But for whatever reason, Xbox has a dark cloud over its head, and people still opt to get beaten to death by PlayStation just to get a PlayStation.
Right.
And that's just, for whatever reason, that's just how it is. But um, I think PlayStation could be in such a better position if they relax just a little bit. And I think in the same way, Microsoft would probably find themselves in a better position if they tightened things up a little bit. But that's just the positions that both are in, and for the time being, it's going to continue working in Sony's favor. So I think the last thing is basically, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, but like, what do you think a realistic window is for this, for either of these devices?
I would say probably 2027. And I think that's kind of what they hinted at least Xbox.
2027, and then we figure that would basically coincide with the announcement of the next generation.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think whenever they do the announcement for the next gen, they'll say, "Oh yeah, and we have this." So probably like June 2020, like somewhere between May and June 2027.
Because I think, did the Vita come out like a year before the PS4 released?
I think the Vita came out in 2011.
So about 2 years. PS4 was 2013.
20, yeah, 2013. Around the same time, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that would kind of track. Yeah, I could see that. 2027, which means we won't get any more information until we get a breadcrumb around this time next year, so that we
Yeah.
can hit our quota of at least one episode a year about handhelds.
Yeah, that's works for us from a business standpoint.
Yeah, that's just good business.
Yeah.
I've been seeing rumors that PlayStation might have some sort of event coming up, potentially by the next time we would record, but I have no idea if any of that is confirmed or if it's just people doing what people do and
Yeah.
speculating about things. But I think I saw
Well,
something about December 3rd being potentially.
Sarah Bond said that they're supposed to be announcing new hardware too in December. Like she said that months ago. I don't know if they're trying to like quietly let that go away because they're not ready or what, but so I'll have to keep an eye out for that as well.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll see. We'll
Yep,
see what ends up happening.
sure will.
But yeah, I think your estimation is probably a solid one, where we shouldn't really expect, as is always the case with things in the game industry, like you hear about something and then you might as well just forget about it because it'll be at least a year until you get any more information regarding it.
Right.
And we still somehow don't know anything about the Switch's successor.
And we never will.
And we never will.
Until one day it's here.
It just shows up on
Nintendo's
your
gonna be
doorstep.
like, yeah, exactly. Nintendo's gonna be like, look in your Switch dock. And there's just gonna be a new Switch in there.
There's just going to be a lawsuit.
Oh my god.
How did you get this console? You gave it to me. Just beating you up.
Prove it.
All right. Well, I think that does it for this episode. Unless you had anything else you wanted to say about the handhelds.
I do not.
Alrighty. Well, as always, thank you all so much for listening. Let us know what your thoughts are. Do you think Xbox has a path to releasing a viable handheld that can stand up against PlayStation? What do they, in your eyes, have to do to make that happen? And what do you think a rough release window is? If you could do us a favor and leave us a rating or review wherever you do listen to the podcast, that would be greatly appreciated. And as always, if you could share the podcast with a friend, it would help us out. Other than that, we will talk to you next week.